So a few days ago, I changed the transmission fluid on my 2014 Toyota Tundra with tow package, and a strange thing happened. Before I drained it, I tried the level check, which was, I thought I'd see what it was like before I did the drain, and it dumped 2 quarts of fluid out instead of just a little bit like I thought it should. Someone at Toyota told me that was because the engine wasn't running. So I went ahead and I did all the changes and did a little adding and subtracting to figure out how much fluid I put in, and everything seemed fine. So I did the final level check, and 2 more quarts came out. So my assumption is that since I put in as much as I took out, that it was overfull by 2 quarts when I got it, when I bought the truck. So just to make sure of this, I'm about to do another level check. So I thought I would do a little video to show you the basics of checking the level. If the level needs to be adjusted, there's additional tools needed. But all you need to do the level check is a 5mm hex wrench, Allen type, either a socket or just the angled wrench, a bent paper clip. Now a piece of wire 1.8 millimeters in diameter, or even a little smaller. I used a paper clip first, and when I took it out after doing the check, I got burned. You see those? So this time it's going to be a longer tool, so I can just reach up and pull it out. The screwdriver or punch, if it's the right diameter, about 1/8 of an inch or a little more, so it can push the detent in on the thermostat on the side of the transmission. You can use a screwdriver, but it kind of gets in the way of this, so I'm going to try using the punch this time. So I'll try to go over all the steps just to make sure that the level is correct, okay? Hold on. Okay, you'll also want a drain pan and a drip pan for the inevitable mess that I made, just in case. You'll want the drain pan especially. Okay, I'll try to show you as best I can. This is the transmission fluid heater. It's connected to the engine coolant system, so it has hot water flowing through it, which transfers heat to the transmission fluid. Up here, if I can get my hand to it, this is the thermostat that makes fluid flow to the transmission cooler once the fluid is hot enough. You use the punch or screwdriver to push this button in the middle inward, and then through one of these pairs of holes you put the wire I showed you through to hold that button in the middle down, and through the other side to pin it in place. I'll show it to you after it's installed. I'm recording this with a cell phone, so it takes more hands than I have available. Okay, well, it took some doing. It would have been better if I had 4 hands, but I got it in there. I don't know if I can get it focused right for you. You can see it going through, barely, and it's holding the button down inside. Now this handle is long enough I can yank it out when I'm done and not get burned again. So the next thing you want to do is break loose the drain plug after you set your ratchet correctly. Just break the torque. Okay. Make sure it's tight enough that nothing will leak. all the other tools can be moved out of the way. Okay, so now let's go get the transmission warmed up. So the first thing you want to do to get the transmission warmed up is use the bent paper clip to bridge the correct terminals in your OBD2 connection. I've made marks on it, found the instructions online, but I'll take a picture of it and show it to you at the end of the video so you'll know which terminals to hook up to. Okay, once that paper clip is in there, get my hand in there to get some exposure correction. Once the paper clip is in there, you can start the engine and go through the steps. So after the paper clip or wire is inserted into the plug in the correct spots, the instructions say to start the engine, and your dash lights will be flashing like your truck's about to explode. Let's see what happens. You see all those flashing lights? That means something's going on. So to temperature check mode, the instructions say to put on the brake, shift into reverse, neutral, drive, and then manual shift mode. Shift through all the gears momentarily, give them a second or two each to get the fluid flowing through everything, and then come back down to first gear, shift into drive, and shift from neutral to drive at least 4 times with no more than 1.5 seconds in between shifts. There, see, D stayed on, shifting into neutral. That's what you want. Then you put it into park and let it idle. Check back every minute or so to make sure. And once drive lights up again, right now the temperature is low because drive is not lit here. When drive lights steady, the temperature is right. For this transmission, it's between 99 and 111 degrees, which is why I backed it up and put it on the ramps this morning, because it's 50 degrees or so outside, and then waited a few hours to make sure everything was nice and cool. So now I'm going to let it idle, and once that light comes on, I can do the level check. If the light comes on and you wait too long and it starts flashing, then it's supposedly overfull, or the temperature is too high, I'm sorry. So then doing a level check, you would have to wait and start over again after letting it cool off, which could take several hours. So I'll check back. One other thing they say to do is you can pull the plug while it's warming up, and as it warms to the correct temperature, it will start trickling out, not dripping, trickling. And then you can put the plug back in and torque it correctly. They'll tell you to use, in the instructions, to use a new washer. It's a crush washer in this application, but in my entire life of changing oil in cars, including transmission fluid, I've never changed the washer except when I did this transmission fluid change a few days ago. And I've never had a leak. And when you think about it, a crush washer, after it's crushed, is just a crushed washer. And there's no reason, in my opinion, to replace it. But, you know, it depends on who you are. So anyway, I'll pause, I'll get under there, and I guess I'll start checking the level, see if anything flows out before it's warmed up. They're better have picked up all the fluid that's going to run through the system right now, so I don't end up dumping 2 quarts like I did last time. I removed the plug and no fluid is coming out, and supposedly that's the way it should be under these circumstances. Until it warms up enough, it shouldn't be coming out. Once it's warm enough, it should start trickling because the fluid expands as it warms up. So let's wait and see when the D light lights up if anything starts coming out. Hopefully I won't have to add more fluid because that's another ordeal. Well, you can see the D light is on now. So let's see if anything's coming out. There's no fluid coming out, which apparently means it's under full. I guess I'm going to have to add some more fluid. There's just a little tiny bit coming out, but it's not trickling. You have no idea how happy I am. That's sarcasm. That no fluid is trickling. So, we'll see what happens now. To do any adding of fluid, you'll need a funnel, some way to apply force of 24 millimeter or 15/16. In my case, it's a 15/16 socket, which I only have in half-inch drive. And you'll need fluid. The hose is PVC, which is 1/2 inch inside diameter, 5/8 outside diameter, which fits snugly into the holes, so it won't fall out unless you accidentally tug it like I did a couple times while filling. Not a happy experience for me. So anyway, we'll see if we can see the fill plug. Do you see that plug right there? That's the one. You can get it through the wheel well, or you can try to snake a hose down from the engine compartment and put it in which case you have to avoid exhaust pipes, which can really mess up a PVC hose, especially after having warmed up a little bit just now. So I'm going to do it the same way I did before, which was through the wheel well. Right through here, back out over the tire, and the hose will be brought up into the engine compartment with the funnel attached, and I will lay it right on top of the underhood cowl. So now you can see I have the hose in the side of the transmission. It's a fairly snug fit. I have it routed above a heat shield. Hard to see. Oh, can't see it at all. It's right there, above this heat shield, because the exhaust pipe is right below it. And I have it coming out through the wheel well, funnel attached, sitting on top of a towel to catch any drips. So I'll add 1/2 quart to start with, see where it goes from there. Okay, I have 1/2 quart poured in. I'm going to start it up and try to get it back into check mode again. See, the D stayed lit. So now it's in park, as you can see, and D, and it's not flashing. So that means it's in check mode and the temperature is correct. So let's see how it works from underneath. Okay, I'll take out the plug. And hope some fluid comes out. Hopefully not too much. Okay. So it says you have to wait until it slows to a trickle. And the level should be correct. And that is a trickle. And happily, I got some of that stinky fluid on my hands again. Both the check and fill plugs reinstalled, tightened nicely. By the way, this plug and the drain plug are identical except for the head. That's apparently so stupid people won't accidentally check here. So if you ever strip this and have to take it out with a vice grip, you can get one of these and do the same job and it won't strip so easily. So anyway, let's see what happens when I try to remove the thermostat wire. Just grab it and yank. And I didn't get burned that time. So, in summary, here's everything I used to do the level check. You have no idea how much I appreciate Toyota making it so difficult for people like us to do our own maintenance. All I needed, I used the punch to push in the button on the thermostat. A screwdriver would work. I did it with that before, but this can be used at the side of the opening and push without it getting in the way like the screwdriver did. The wire is about 10 inches long. It's fairly heavy baling wire is what it is. I put the loop on the end in case I needed to grab it with something other than fingers. Bent it about an inch from the end, about a 45-degree angle. Makes it easier to get in around the transmission fluid heater. And a 5mm hex wrench to take the check plug out. I used the pen equivalent to a Sharpie to mark the points on the OBD2 plug for next time if I have to do it again. Used a bent paper clip to bridge, to short those two contacts. A pair of pliers to bend this sucker straight about 3 times trying to get it in before I angled it like this. You got to make sure you push the button all the way in or it won't, or this won't go through. And then the 15/16 or 24mm wrench of some kind to get the fill plug out. There's about 6 feet of the 5/8 outside, 1/2 inch inside diameter clear PVC hose and a funnel. I'd recommend extending that to 7.5 feet for a little flexibility so it won't pull out like it did for me the first time when I was filling and I lost a quart of oil in the driveway, which was a happy experience that I now have to clean up. A drip pan to catch any spray, which when it started getting to the proper level, I was surprised that it started sputtering out and spraying all over the place. Paper towels to clean up the inevitable mess, and a drain tray to catch the fluid that comes out. That looks like probably about how much I put in, so it was probably like 1 millimeter from being the correct level. So when I did it before, it might have been just a little warmer than it was when I checked it this time, which will make the difference. Although since mine was 2 quarts over full, apparently, when I first worked on it, apparently it's not that important to get the exact perfect level of fluid. But you never know. So anyway, let me talk about something else here. Okay. One of the sets of instructions I found online, most of them, the only difference was the temperature of the fluid. One of them said you should be within 1 degree, plus or minus, of level. So I did some checking. My wheelbase is almost exactly 12 feet front to rear. So I got a 6-foot level in my driveway, and I propped it up at level, and it was 3.5 inches off the driveway. So twice that would be 7 inches. I did some calculating, and 2.5 inches of level at that distance is 1 degree. 2.5 inches of lift up or down is 1 degree from horizontal or level. And my ramps are 6 inches high. So, being the person that I am, I made a platform 1.5 inches thick from 2x4s screwed together to set the ramps on, to raise the front end up to 7.5 inches. I tried finding a spot on the vehicle to check level. I know it's almost level now, but the running boards, the door sills were not a good place to check level, and I have a shell on mine, and you can see that the top is curved a little bit, as is the bottom. So it's pretty much impossible for me to find a good way to check it without just doing the calculation. So that's what I did. If I'd set it down level on the driveway, it would have been probably way off, even though the drain plug is about in the middle of the pan front to back, so it should show the level correctly. And it would have taken some pretty high jack stands to keep this sucker off the ground far enough. So this is what worked for me. Your driveway might be closer to level. Apparently mine is about a 3-degree slope. So anyway, hopefully all this information will help you figure out if your fluid level is correct. Here are the instructions for the temperature check. I'll go nice and slow so you can read it. Pause where you like, of course. We're showing the connection points in the what they call the DLC3, and I call the OBD2 connecting port. This was just printed from somebody's PDF file that I downloaded. Don't you love my neighbor's serenade? As you can see, the temperature for my transmission is 99 to 111 Fahrenheit. So you want to do this early in the morning if it's summertime. And you can see that the overflow tube is about halfway from front to back. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal whether or not it's level, but I decided I'd go for it. So that ought to do the rest of it.